This is Made for More Living with Johnny Jennings. Online at madeformorerealty.com.
So when I got my real estate career, I wasn't scared of brokers. But now, after having done this for a while, they're kind of like real estate cops. They're the ones that lay down the law, issue fines, tell agents what to do. And today we have it's an absolute honor to have my dear friend Ryan Rosas on the show.
Do you carry a badge?
You should.
I should carry a badge. That would be fun.
Yeah.
Nobody would.
Are you armed when you go talk to realtors?
Armed with knowledge.
There you go. That's something a lawyer would say.
Yeah.
That is something a lawyer. So we got Ryan Rosas, designated managing broker for eXp Northern California and eXp Commercial, right?
I'm an officer for commercial. I'm not the designated broker.
Oh, you're not?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's a regulatory title. So it's,
all good. But you're on the show today. And, so quick story as far as cops go. Did you hear I almost got pulled over the other day?
No.
So I'm horrible.
Almost got pulled over.
How do you?
Almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, it literally.
I almost get pulled over every single day. If a cop was nearby, boom.
Exactly. So I'm on my phone. So if it was Valerie, she would have gotten a ticket. I'm on my phone at a stoplight. The stoplight's red. I'm responding to text, doing something. All of a sudden, out of the side of the glass, I'm like, what the heck? Something's blinding me. Turns out a cop had pulled up next to me and was flashing his side lights at me.
Uh-huh.
And he told me to roll down my window. And so I roll it down. He's like, get off your phone.
Yeah.
Even if you're stopped at a red light, you're not supposed to be on your phone.
No phone in hand.
I'm like, oh, okay. You know?
I'd say, hey, look around me. Everyone else at the stoplight is probably on their phone right now.
You got to break, though, because they can write you a ticket on that.
I know. I've had a ticket
true.
before.
I've had something similar happen to me where he yelled at me, get off your phone.
Yeah.
Were you driving the corporate
No, I
truck?
I was parked too, though. I was parked too.
Okay.
Yeah. I was at a red light or a stop sign, and he was mad. Yeah. This was years ago when they first...
They were more heavy-handed, I think, when it first came out.
Came out, yeah.
Now it's like, come on, everybody. I see teenagers driving with their phone on.
Yeah.
Well, we're so
I'm not saying it's good.
Yeah.
It's not safe.
It is not safe at all.
Yeah.
We are phone dependent, though.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's a thing. But so you are kind of like that version for real estate agents and there to help people. Like, again, law enforcement is definitely there to help. But you probably see a lot. How many agents roughly do you interact with on a given month, week?
Well, we oversee 10,000 agents in the state. So how many I engage with, I couldn't even put a number on that. I mean, tons.
Yeah.
And some things are more complicated than others. Some things are very easy. It's just a quick response, and some things I go to court for, So,
oh my gosh, yes. I know you just wrapped up a
long trial.
A long trial, and you say most of the time they don't go to trial.
That's right. Yeah, most of the time, 90% of the time, things that are brought up in litigation get settled out. But occasionally there is something that goes to trial, and I just came off a 5-week trial. I've got another one coming up probably in the next year or so. Yep.
Man,
yeah,
that's wild. You know that far in advance if it's going to trial.
Well, they have to, because you think of the logistics of witnesses, all parties that need to be there. The court essentially says we need to know dates that you're not available so that we can schedule the trial around everybody's unavailability. So they ask for stuff. They usually don't ask. I mean, I got asked for my time that I am unavailable for the rest of this year, for all of 2026 and early 2027. And so that's a very long stretch. It's typically not a request that's that long. So long. I'm like, well, I don't know what I'm doing that far in advance.
I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow.
I don't know, exactly.
2027?
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, so I think it would be interesting for buyers, sellers, agents. What are people typically getting sued for? Like in your day-to-day, what are the top causes?
Well, it depends on the level. So if you're talking about like things like small claims, that typically involves deposits. Right.
One party not releasing the deposit?
One party not releasing the deposit, right? Because the escrow holder is a neutral third party, and they're going to say, hey, basically, you guys figure it out or you bring me a court order. So there's small levels like that. And then on the bigger levels, it's almost always to do with disclosures on some levels. Something wasn't disclosed appropriately. It was hidden. It was, my agent didn't explain this to me, things like that.
They explained it, but they didn't explain it well enough.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So let's go back to the deposits, because a lot of people think, hey, you know what, my contingencies are still in place. My agent said I'm protected.
Right.
I'm going to cancel the agreement.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get my deposit back.
That is how it's designed. I mean, when you look at the contract has contingencies in place that are designed to protect the deposit of the buyer so that if the buyer cancels within the scope of cancellation rights, that the deposit should go back. But the reality is it takes two to tango. And so if the seller, for whatever reason, a lot of times it's emotional, right? They feel that they've been wronged by the buyer in some way, shape, or form, right? And so they're like, I'm not going to release the deposit, even though the deposit's protected.
Yeah.
And so they say, I'm not going to sign it. I'm not going to sign it. And so, yes, it's supposed to go to the buyer, but if the seller doesn't sign it, then the escrow holder who is holding those funds says, you got to figure it out.
So if Chicago Title is the escrow holder and both parties don't agree, what happens to the money? It just sits there?
It sits there. I mean, it can't sit there for too long. I mean, the escrow companies are regulated just like real estate agents. So it's in a trust account and it has to be maintained. But if there's no resolution to it after a period of time, it gets escheated to the state, essentially. But that's I mean, it's rare that happens, right? Because at some point, somebody, will take them to small claims court or something like that and get a court order that forces the release.
Yeah, but I think it's really important for, buyers, sellers, agents to know just because contingencies are in place does not mean you're guaranteed to get that money back, to get that deposit back.
And I advise agents on that all the time because they'll come in and they'll ask and they're like, well, what's going, is the deposit protected? And I said, from a contractual standpoint, absolutely it is. But let's talk about the reality of what happens out there in the real world, right?
Yep.
So
what about, because there is a limit. What's the limit in terms of the deposit that can be kept?
Well, it depends. The contract has an optional clause in there for liquidated damages. Liquidated damages is capped at 3% of the sales price. Mm-hmm. So depending on what that sales price is, the 3% can't go over it. And then there's a lot of misconception around liquidated damages as well. So people will say, so as an example, let's just for the sake of numbers, let's say liquidated damages, the 3% is $30,000, but the initial deposit was $10,000. Well, that $10,000 becomes the limit now, right? It doesn't. There's not
up to 3.
It's not to up to 3. So if they put $30,000 in, that it's now subject to that. But if they only put $10,000 in, right?
What if they put $50,000 in?
Then it's capped at 30. Okay. It's capped at 30. And with liquidated damages, whichever party is claiming those funds. Typically it's the seller, right? Typically the seller saying, well, I want to keep the funds because of whatnot. And even if all the contingencies have been removed, the seller has to show what their costs are, so it's not automatically they're getting $30,000. They have to say, hey, listen, I was harmed because I had the movers coming to take me to Georgia where I was relocating to, and I lost my deposit on that house, which was $10,000, right? Things like that. So they have to be able to show. It's just not an automatic, well, you get all $30,000.
Love that. And so there's some gray there. Mm-hmm. But let's say they put $50,000 down, $30,000 would have been the 3%.
Right.
And both parties do not agree to release the deposit. Does the buyer get their $20,000 back and $30,000 chill in escrow, or?
Typically, the escrow holder won't do anything. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. There is a provision in the purchase agreement, because if you think about the California Association of Realtors purchase agreement, it's a purchase agreement and joint escrow instructions. And the joint escrow instructions does have a provision in there that says that if there's a disputed deposit, one party can make a request of the escrow holder to release that deposit to them. And if the other party doesn't contest it within 10 days, the escrow holder can release it. But the key word there is that they can release it. They don't, right? They say, we don't want to be sued. We don't want somebody coming after us. We're just taking a neutral stance, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Dude, I love having these conversations with you. You're like ChatGPT for real estate. So deposits, that's one way people get fired up and end up in small claims court is about the deposits. And the second thing you said had to do with disclosures.
Disclosures, yeah. And disclosures end up in both small claims, right? Hey, like the plumbing is leaking, right? And I had to get a plumber out here for $4,800. That falls into the scope of small claims, right? Mm-hmm. But sometimes it's a much bigger number. And agents have a duty to perform a visual inspection, right? And there's case law.
Is it AVID or AVID?
I call it AVID, but you know, some people it's
Agent
tomato,
Visual
tomato, right?
Inspection Disclosure.
Yeah.
I say AVID.
Yeah. I say them both. I guess it depends who you're talking to, but
like Amex or Amex.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But that's well established in case law, the Easton case where, the California Association of Realtors and the Department of Real Estate basically created a code, which is law, that says, hey, this is what the agent's duty is. And it essentially is what an agent can visually observe. But what happens is consumers, the buyers and sellers, they don't really understand that that's kind of the scope, even though it says scope of duty of these, right? All
even
that
though
stuff.
It's explained. Yeah.
Even though it's explained, it's not. And so what inevitably happens is a buyer, as an example, will come back post close of escrow and say, well, the agent didn't see this, right? Well, yeah, it's a sewer lateral clog. How,
Yeah, exactly.
they didn't tell me about it. It's like, well, how would they know that the tree root is in there, right? We see stuff like that all the time. And, consumers will come to us and they'll want the brokerage to make it right. It's like, that's
buyer beware, dude.
Yeah. A buyer has a duty to perform inspections, to understand what they're purchasing, and to ask questions. They don't ask questions all the time. They get these disclosures and they just sign them.
Yeah, and then they end up buying something they didn't realize they purchased.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah. So we always tell. So a lot of the sellers I'm dealing with right now, they're like, I'm selling this as is.
Yeah.
Money's tight. I don't want to put
Sure.
anything into it. I'm selling it as is, and I always tell them, absolutely, totally agree. Yep. Every residential purchase agreement is an as-is sale.
It starts that way, yeah.
But the buyer has the option to inspect the property.
That's right, yeah.
And then they can submit to your request for
even
repairs.
if the buyer waives inspection contingencies up front, they can still have every right to perform those inspections, right? They just can't cancel based off the results of those inspections, but they can certainly do it. They can always ask for, renegotiate, ask for a repair request or a credit, and seller is in they're well within their rights to say no, or not even respond. Actually, they don't even have to respond.
And if you're working with so let's say you're selling your house and you're working with an agent, make sure that agent gets their agent visual inspection disclosure out and to the other side as quickly as possible.
Very, very important, especially on the seller side. So if there is an agent representing the seller, the agent visual inspection disclosure is actually considered an extension of the seller disclosures. And a lot of times agents don't realize that. Yeah. And there is a contractual amount of time that the seller is supposed to provide disclosures to the buyer. Maybe the seller did all their disclosures in a timely fashion and their agent didn't do their inspection for 2 weeks.
That never happens,
right?
Ryan. Maybe at the other brokerages, not over here.
Right? And it opens up a window, right?
It opens up a window. Is it 5 days that they have?
5 passive days. Yeah.
What do you mean by passive?
So if anything new or material or disclosure comes in, the buyer always has 5 days to look at it. So in the contract, they have a certain amount of days to remove contingencies or do something. But let's say that time frame has already passed and something new comes in, or that agent visual inspection now gets delivered. They have 5 days to review it. But if they don't cancel based off of that within 5 days, they are deemed to have accepted it.
Got it. Okay. Perfect. Hey, when we come back, we're going to be talking about listing cancellations and how that works, because I know a lot of people out there are getting frustrated with their agent and wanting to cancel, and how to protect yourself if you're buying a house and if you're selling a house and there's repairs involved. Back after this.
If a movie has a 100% Rotten Tomato rating, you can be sure it's going to be a pretty good movie, right? Well, that's the case with Johnny Jennings and Made for More Realty. No, they don't have a 100% Rotten Tomato rating, but what they do have is over 1,000 5-star Google reviews. So it's pretty evident that a lot of people love the job that they are doing when it comes to helping them sell their home or purchase their next home. They're friendly to talk to. They're also very professional and can get things done fast and for the most money possible. So if you would like their help, they'll walk you through every step of the process. No problem, easy. That's why they have, again, over 1,000 5-star Google reviews. Just Google Johnny Jennings with Made for More Realty and get more for your home.